In line with recent government directives, listeners to this podcast must chill out, sit down, scratch your knees and welcome a swarm of bees that have come in from the east, according to the weatherman Michael Fish, who you thought retired but now just tells you the movement of bees. We have got an infestation of the little zuzzazummers coming in from Cornwall, eating pasties and enjoying their ice creams. Welcome to Dangerfield Sunday Prescription, a little bit of audio medication to help your mum burp throughout the night. What a week it's been. I went to see some contemporary ballet. That's right, me and the missus, we got up to Sadler's Wells, which, as you know, is rhyming slang for seashells, which is rhyming slang for pearls of wisdom. Mr. and Mrs. Wisdom, you've won the prize. Come and see the ballet. And what it was Bizet's Carmen. Yeah, high art. We went to see Bizet's Carmen, but some fucker had got in and he'd made it all contemporary and shit, and he'd recalled it the Car Man. See what he'd done? The Car Man. And it was a lot of very camp men on stage doing muscle postures and jumping about. And after about 10 minutes, shine, let me win my mind. You see my hand, a little mouse with gloves on. Which was okay, but I think we decided afterwards, after having a little chat in the foyer, that we want to do something a little bit more traditional, and we're going to go and give Puccini's Bohème a go. Not Cafe Bohème on Old Compton Street, no, Puccini's Bohème, which I think will be a bit more traditional. The problem I had with it was sort of like set in 1950s America. It was like Happy Days, the musical, and ballet is like very European. It feels European, and as you know, Europe is a dark and strange place of many seasons, and you know, it's where the Moomins come from, which immediately makes a place très strange. And Happy Days isn't so strange, so there was a jarring kind of ballet, and it was Monday, Sunday, Happy Days. The days go backwards in the Car Man, of course, and so yeah, that was kind of weird and jarring, and there was a lot of wanking gestures. I don't know about wanking gestures. Speaking of wanking gestures, I had a gig this week. I was the headline. It was awful. I was the headline. It was this club, this promoter had put on 17,000, he said, 17,000 acts. And he rung me up, he didn't, he emailed me, and he said, will you be the final act, the closing act ever, because they're moving venue, and I want you to be the final act, yeah? I'll give you a lot of money, and I want you to do an hour. And I was like, mate, an hour's too long. Who else is on? He said, there's 3 other acts all doing 20 minutes. I was like, 60 minutes of comedy, then a break, and then 60 minutes of me rattling on. I said, mate, it's not going to work. He went, it is. They're a comedy, literate audience, yeah, they're comedy savvy. I didn't know what that meant. I thought, well, all right, I'll kind of trust him, but I emailed him and said, maybe I'll just do 40, and he was like, no, they are a comedy savvy audience, they're comedy literate. And I thought, okay. And then I emailed him, and nearer the time I said, look, I'll tell you what, I'll go on, I'll fuck about a bit, I'll play it by ear. If it's going well, I'll do the full hour. And he just went, no, it will work. So on the night I get there, and it's running late. Of course it's running late. They always run late, especially when it's the big finale. And it turns out the audience is made up exclusively of open mic comedians. Now, I love open mic comedians. If you like comedy, go to some open mics, because you will get the shittest acts you've ever seen, but they are incredibly funny. I've mentioned this in podcasts before. Funny for the wrong reasons. You're laughing at them, but you're going to get some shizzle you've never seen before. The Edinburgh Festival is also good for that. People who have got the courage, and it does take courage to get up on stage and do what they do, and they're learning it live, and they're learning it in front of you, and learning's embarrassing, and it's great to watch. So it's full of people like that. And in between 2 of the acts, the compere, the bloke that runs it, he done a shout out to every single act individually. All the people in the audience experience. It was like, John, everyone give John a round of applause. And next to him we got Terry Smith, hey, everyone. And I was like, wow, this is like, they are cliquey, they are fixed, they know each other. This is a gang. And gangs don't tend to like outsiders, and especially not mouthy bastards like me. And I was thinking, oh no, what's it going to be? And I was nervous. I was getting more and more nervous. I'm used to doing my own show, the Come and See Chris Dangerfield, not mystery headliner. And it just was getting more and more awful. And Carl Donnelly was on before, and he was just like Carl Donnelly going, yeah, you know, I don't want to get caught in a motorbike crash if people think I had a wank that morning. And they loved it, and I thought, that's all right, but it doesn't get further. The missus has just exhaled as if she's bored of me talking. Are you all right? The internet is slow, and there you go. We'll be coming back to my missus later for more internet reports, and the speed of the internet will be yours. Of course, it will be out of date by then, but nice to know how it was at the time of recording. So anyway, set the scene, yeah? 80 open mic comics. They're all about 20 years old. Middle-class white boys. And they're all like having this final do, and I'm getting more and more scared and more tired. I'm not a young man no more. And of course, after about 8 o'clock in the evening, I'm ready to put my feet up, a cup of Horlicks, and a nice documentary about sharks. And so I'm sort of fading a little bit. The room is stinking hot. Dave Thompson was one of the Teletubbies. Hello, Dave, if you're listening. Lovely bloke. Dave went to Dartington Art College, it turns out, which is where I went, and he said it changed his life, and it changed mine too. And I like that. We've got a link there. But Dave was really good. He sort of worked the room to his favour. It was nice. And I was just, when I watch proper comedians, I'm like, how do they do that? How do you do comedy? I haven't got a fucking clue. And so, before I go on, I'm waiting in the sides, and he's revving it all up, and then he went, so we're going to take a 10-minute break. I was like, oh, fucking hell. And so I'm up and down, and by this time, it's now about 10 past 11. I was scheduled to go on at 11. There's another 10-minute break, so I'll sit on the stairs. And as he calls them all back in, they're walking past me, all these sort of like white, young, middle-class, open mic comics. Yeah, white, young, open mic, middle-class comics. Yeah, 2, 3. White, young, open, middle-class, white, open class, white, young. And as they're going downstairs, because I'm a mystery act, one of them says, I heard one says to his mate, he went, well, I can't wait for this bit. It might be Russell Brand. And the other one went, I think it's Dara O'Brien. I saw him in the toilets. And I'm thinking, no, you got Chris Dangerfield. And so anyway, I'm by the side, and the compere goes on, and he goes, this is the final act after 17,000 acts, blah, 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 and he's going on, and he's got that thing, you see compares doing it all the time, because comparing is relatively easy. When they're all your mates, it's like doing a fucking wedding speech. They're laughing at anything. You're like, oh, I held the mic with the wrong finger, and they're like, ha, 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 and you can't get him off stage, and of course, he's full of pain meds and lager. So I'm thinking, come on, man, and I'm getting nervous, I'll be honest, I get nervous. It's quite awful. I like doing gigs where people come to see me, not where they've come to see each other. Certainly not when I'm the mystery headline act that they do not want to see. I don't like myself a lot, so that's my initial feeling. I feel like when I get announced, it'll be tumbleweed. Their expectations have been set very high, and their reality is very low. So I'm about to go on, and the compare's done all his bit, and he's going on and on and on. And then he went, right, now, after 17,000 acts, the finale. And then he went, I did originally book Mark Thomas, but he couldn't make it. And he went, so I rung this bloke. He didn't say it, but he might as well have said after got through the other 20. And once I got to the bottom of the list, you could see under his fingernails he had the scrapings from the bottom of the barrel. And then he said this. Now check this out. They have listened to over an hour of stand-up, plus comparing. It's hot as hell. It's Friday night. They're pissed, but they're over the pissed hill. They're not sort of, oh, I like lager. They're like, oh, there's so much lager. And he went, now, this is not comedy. And I'm like, ooh, that's now taken 40% of my clout. This isn't comedy. He went, this is a storytelling experience. Oh, fucking great. So now they're confused because what? Is it funny? I don't know if I'm meant to laugh. I don't. And you can see them all, what? Hang on. And then he went, so were you welcome to the stage? I saw him the other day and he's going to do his act, Sex Tourist. I thought, am I? He went, Chris Dangerfield. Muted applause. Absolutely restricted. Kind of, there's a few people in there who knew me who were like, oh, yeah, hey. But on the whole, not the sound of 80 people happy. The sound of 4 people happy and 76 flapping their tired hands. I go on stage. Now, you know as an act very quickly whether you've got them on side just by the environment. And they didn't like me straight away. Now, I'll be honest, I lost a bit of faith in myself, and that's a problem because all comics do it. And like any skill set, when you lose faith in your abilities, you will overcompensate in other areas. Think of like a fight. If you're not very good at punching, you'll use your legs a lot, which is all right if you've got good legs. But I lost faith in my material and I just rambled at full speed. I overcompensated with freneticism and was just going, yeah, why not see it? And they didn't like me and I was a bit too shocking for them. And it feels horrible because you're on stage, they don't like your shtick, they don't like your angle, they don't like you. And my material it can be very personal. And so if they don't like me, my material, and I take it quite badly. And I was like, shit, I've got to do another 55 fucking minutes of this. And I was already pissing with sweat. It was horrific. I mean, I got some good laughs, but certainly not what you'd expect of a headliner, final act and all that. Most of them were doing the shouldn't laugh, hand over mouth. And, it was just a bit awful. I persevered, though. I'm a professional. In the past, I've just thrown the mic on the floor and went, fuck off, I've got better things to do. But I thought, no, stick with it. And I did. And, got some good laughs, got some applause laughs. But I found out afterwards, the promoter said to a mate of mine, I don't think the promoter knows I know him, he said to him, I didn't ask for this. I didn't ask for this. I didn't ask for this. He went and he said to him, should I pay him? Should I pay him? Amazing. Yes, you fucking should. And he did, I hasten to add. But it was hard work. And afterwards, it just was a bit ugly. A couple of blokes come up to me. One of them went, you are an artist. And I was like, oh, thank you. I just wanted to be a comedian, really. And I felt quite awful and I came home. But afterwards, it's been quite interesting. A few different people said that they are kind of cliquey and I am a little bit esoteric for them. And that was nice. And Dave Thompson said he enjoyed what he saw. He had to fuck off because obviously he needed to get home before 0:00 in the morning and it was running late. And interesting stuff. And I wrote to the American comedian Andy Andrist. I was just flailing out looking for hope. And Andrew Andrist, check him out on YouTube. You won't get to see him live. He hasn't played in England. Don't know if he will. But I can imagine when he dies, he has a similar relationship to his material. And he said to me, he said, stand-up comedy is death therapy. Death therapy. It certainly felt like it. It was a shocker, but I got home and I sort of had a nice bath and washed it off. Okay, so internet, how's it going?
It's still fucking slow.
It's fucking slow. The internet is slow. Is it time for a breather and breathe in? And breathe out. Oh, mother, why'd you leave me hanging here, hanging in my infant hair, waiting? Yeah. So this week I ran out of bananas. Didn't plan to run out of bananas, never planned to run out of bananas, but run out of bananas, and I had to sit the whole night thinking, oh my God, what am I going to do for bananas? And it was quite exciting because I went on the Facebook social network and I typed in, run out of bananas, didn't plan that, oh dear. And my friend Richard Griffiths, who you might know from the call centre, it was quite fun because I put, oh dear, run out of bananas, didn't plan this. And he put, way it always ends up, kid, go west. And I wrote back to him, I have eaten though, so I won't start recognising my surroundings just yet. And then he put this, and this started something rather funny, which I've chosen to share with you. He wrote, Indie banana shop. And he phonetically like that. Indie banana shop. And he put after that, sung like one of your black white mates. You know, on the last podcast we talked about Sting, and my mate, he went, I gotta get it going on. And, bad manners and all that lot. So he went, Indie banana shop. Sung like one of your black white mates. Where we going, Chris? To the banana shop. And now I'm going to read you the messages me and him backward and forwarded, because what we done, to and fro, to and fro, we ended up composing the lyrics to a little black white mate song about me bananas gwan. And it goes like this. In the banana shop, where we going, Chris, to the banana shop. Me gotta get it in me, more than daily. This bitch, she treat me badly, more than daily. So where does I take me? Away from the family, away from the factory, away from the factory, to the banana shop, more than daily. I mean, if you can't enjoy that on a Wednesday night, I don't know who or where you are. That was exciting stuff. This is an odd podcast, an oddcast, I like to think, or you dirty little sodcast. I am a bit tired. It's late on Sunday. This is going out late. Okay, Radio Chaos. Just a little white boy. He wanted to hear the world. He wanted his own show. Oh, come on, Roger Waters. Drop me out. What was that? Radio Chaos. Absolute cack. And what's that really weird one? There was Arabs with knives at the foot of the bed. Right at the foot of the bed. The pros and cons of hitchhiking. Where he got hold of English guitar legend Eric Clapton to go bow, bow, and that's it. Waters, I liked you when you struggled playing bass in the Floyd with Syd Barrett, the king of all things psychedelia, but Radio Chaos, the pros and cons of hitchhiking, it's a no from everyone I know. Now, when I was a youngster and I started reading, I didn't read at school. I read Macbeth, didn't understand a word of it, of course. And then I read Lord of the Flies, which I not only understood the wordage, but totally understood the meaning. I saw that kind of shit happening at birthday parties when we'd get hold of sticks and whack kids over the back. And I pushed a child over once and a nail went into the small of his back and scarred a scar right up the small of his back. Not really. I was the kid who was pushed and I've got the scar. But when I got a bit older and started art college at about 16, I started reading and I loved it and I started reading all sorts of stuff. But I had no guidance. I didn't know about the big guns. I didn't know I should read that and should read this, which was kind of good, but also kind of worrying because, you know, I was very poor student. I wasn't really, I had loads of money. I was that year that got the last grants and the first loans. There was like a weird overlap year. Absolutely loaded. It was weird. I couldn't work out why students thought they were poor. Fees paid, everything. Great stuff. And I'd go around those little cheap bookshops. I remember in Rochester there was loads of them, and you know, you'd get those sort of 1960s or 70s paperbacks, Modern Psychology, The Idea of Circles, and really weird shit like that. And I stumbled across a bloke called Dr. C. Lilly. Still don't know what C stands for. Maybe it was Christopher, but Dr. C. Lilly. And he wrote a book called The Centre of the Cyclone. And he also wrote another book, which I got later, called, I think it had a name like The Didactic Circle or something, but the subtitle was brilliant. It was called Programming and Reprogramming the Meta-Human Biocomputer, which when you're a 16-year-old is having acid for breakfast, it's right up your strasser. And so I got this, when I first read The Centre of the Cyclone, he's nuts. It's just a book about acid, and he's done his best. He was a proper doctor. I think he might have been at Yale or Harvard or something like that, Birkbeck. But he got right into acid, and like anyone, I can imagine in the 60s, because acid's powerful, it changes the way you think. You need a little bit of nous beforehand, but it really does. It gives you a critical distance from things that were once normal, reified, woven into your understanding of reality, suddenly are very different and distinct, and you realise that a pen or the roads or a heater are actually the process of a long and many contrived series of decisions and a historical determination. And you can understand why a doctor in the 60s, Dr. C. Lilly, thought it was amazing. And he ended up talking to dolphins. I don't think they heard him or answered back, but he certainly had a chat with the little funny spout-nosed bastards. But he had a real cool one. Apparently, Dr. C. Lilly was the first person to ever say far out. I mean, far out, Dr. C. Lilly, I'll give you that. That's a nice little that's a nice little scratch in your bedpost in the sleeping world of history. But this is what happened to Dr. C. Lilly, and this is why he's beautiful. He was injecting lysergic acid diethylamide. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. I just said, "Oi, mate, you got any purple orange? I'm partying." But he injected like dilute solutions of it. That was his thing. And he went on these crazy trips. And in they're all crazy, really. But can you imagine on the needle? Whoa, slow down, Dr. C. And not Mr. C. It wasn't Mr. C before he'd done his doctorate. Come on! It was certainly Dr. C. Lilly. But he'd do these trips and he'd like write reports of them. And he'd be like, today I went so far out. And that's when he said far out, because he was looking at it in terms of like distance. But while he was on one of these trips, he thought, I was learning so much about the meta-programming of the human biocomputer, I decided it would be a farce to come down now and miss out on the truth. So I decided, whilst on the LSD 25, to inject some more. This is all gospel, it's in there, it's in the centre of the cyclone, his book. And he went, however, the problem occurred when, because of the effects of the lysergic acid, I made a mistake, and instead of ingesting more LSD, I actually ingested cleaning fluid. Yes, because he was tripping and he couldn't tell his arse from his elbow, Dr. C. Lilly, not Mr. C before he'd done his doctorate, Dr. C. Lilly injected some cleaning fluid. Whoa, imagine, it's bad enough on acid when you tread in plop. It's bad enough when you have a fart and it smells like a Bible. But he injected this cleaning fluid and it put him in a coma, and because he was in a coma and his brain didn't have the strength to fight the LSD 25, he had this crazy 2-week trip where he said these beings come towards him and they said, "You're not ready yet, it's not time to die," and all this bullshit. But he based his whole life on the findings of when he was in this cleaning fluid trip, and he ended up coming up with this thing called Echo. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about Echo, and I'm quoting Dr. C. Lilly. Now, if you've got a history of psychedelics, you'll love this, because you can understand why he thinks this is real, why he thinks what he thought had made sense. And you'll understand why it's funny, because usually you're wise enough to come round after the trip and go, that was rubbish what I thought. But he didn't. Maybe the cleaning fluid affected him. Tell us what you think. So go onto Google, type in E_C_C_O and then Lilly, Lily, and you'll be able to tap into Echo. This is it. Ready? This is from Dr. C. Lilly's writing. Echo. In one's life, there can be peculiarly appropriate chains of related events that lead to consequences that are strongly desired. After such experiences, one wonders how such a series of events developed. Sometimes there is a strong feeling that some intelligence greater than ours directed the course along certain lines which it, she, he is programming. Several years ago, I enthusiated a format for such concatenations of events somewhat, and this is him. There exists a cosmic control centre, brackets CCC, with a galactic substation called Galactic Coincidence Control, brackets GCC, within which is the Solar System Control Unit, brackets SSCU, within which, and here we get to it, within which is the Earth Coincidence Control Office, ECCO. The assignments of responsibilities from the top to the bottom of this system of control is by a set of regulations which, translated by ECCO for humans, is somewhat as follows. And then there's another line. To all humans, if you wish to control coincidences in your own life on planet Earth, we will cooperate and determine those coincidences for you under the following conditions. 1. You must know, assume, simulate our existence in Echo. 2. You must be willing to accept our responsibility for control of your coincidences. 3. You must exert your best capabilities for your survival programs and your own development as an advancing member of ECHO's Earthside Corps of Controlled Coincidence Workers. You are expected to use your best intelligence in this service. 4. You are expected to expect the unexpected every minute, every hour of every day and every night. 5. You must be able to maintain conscious thinking, reasoning, no matter what events we arrange to happen for you. Some of these will seem cataclysmic, stroke catastrophic, stroke overwhelming. Remember, stay aware, no matter what happens or apparently happens to you. It goes on and on and on. And right at the end, number 9, remember the motto passed to us from GCC via SSCU. And this is his quote for you. Ready? Quote, "Cosmic love is absolutely ruthless." Cosmic love is absolutely ruthless and highly indifferent. It teaches its lessons whether you like, stroke, dislike them or not. You have to check out Dr. C. Lilly and the Centre of the Cyclone. I've kind of reached the end of this sodcast. However, oh yes, there is always a however, I have got a wonderful surprise for you. Please forgive the recording quality. I've only got one microphone and I had to involve thrice personnel. This is incredible. This is me and Trevor Locke talking to Sara Mason. Who, you say? Well, Trevor Locke, I say, the comedian. But Sara Mason, she's a relatively new comic, but she's an old lady. She's an old glamorous lady who grew up in the Hollywood Hills. Yeah, interesting. But it's more interesting than that because Sara Mason was sexually abused by Burt Lancaster. No shit. And she's doing a show at Edinburgh this year. The details are at the end of the next bit, and it's called Burt Lancaster Pierced My Hymen, brackets, a bit like ECCO, Echo, brackets, when I was 11. Okay? Sara Mason, Burt Lancaster pierced my hymen, brackets, when I was 11. So what follows is a little chat me and Trevor Locke had with Sara Mason. I hope you enjoy it. Thanks for listening. Working. Well, we're running. Hi, we've got Sara Mason, as you've already corrected me, and Trevor Locke in my house. How are you, Trevor Locke?
Well, you know how I am. I'm very ill, and you ridiculed that, but we managed to get some medication.
Trevor, hypochondriac Locke, and I offered you some real medication, but
yes.
You turned it down.
Yeah, because I'm sensible. I've seen what happens.
How it's ruined me.
It's ruined you.
How's it ruined me?
It's made you stay in the house too much and not go out and spend time with your friends as much as you should do.
You're so right. You hit the nail on the head. And Sara Mason, you're not ill, are you? But you are a bit sick because you're a bit mental.
I'm a bit mentally disturbed, yes. No. I admit it.
Now, what you can't see because you're listening is when she said that, she almost disappeared into my sofa. You became very small then, although you said something very big. Now you're just laughing.
I'm just laughing.
Okay, now there's a reason.
Because I refute my diagnosis of crazy.
She refutes her diagnosis of crazy, which is an up-and-coming LP. Now, so I've got you here for one reason and one reason only, Sara, and it's not what you think, you dirty bastard. You are doing a show at the Edinburgh Festival. You're a comedian. What is your show called?
It's called Burt Lancaster Pierced My Hymen When I Was 11.
Now, I'll just clear that up in case you didn't hear it, because she whispered it a little bit. Say it again louder.
Burt Lancaster pierced my hymen when I was 11.
Right.
Oh,
now,
God.
The weird thing is, because we're all laughing and standing around, but it's true, isn't it?
It is true.
That actually happened.
It actually happened.
And it's pierced your hymen, he raped you.
He didn't fuck me. Oh, I'm probably not allowed to say that.
You can't say fuck on my podcast.
Oh,
no,
there we are.
Definitely
there
not.
We have to read. No, he didn't fuck me. He did it with his hand.
Okay.
I was only a kid.
Wow.
And I did get away from him. But he raped my brother afterwards.
So this is I find this insane. I find the fact that you're doing a show about it, I find incredible. I like that. I like that about comedy. I like the fact that you can say what you want, and if you've got something that you want to say or communicate or talk about, you can do it.
But Chris, I would never have communicated or talked about this if I hadn't seen your show last year. I'm not blaming you. You were my inspiration.
Back or you'll be peaking.
Well, you were my inspiration. Well, I mean, I went to see your show the first time I saw it because I've seen it 3 times.
Okay.
And the first time I did not laugh. I was just completely gobsmacked, but had a kind of epiphany because I thought, wow, this person Chris Dangerfield is talking about things which I know about, but I've never spoken about my entire life to anyone apart from my husband.
Well, this is enough about me, Sara Mason. But what? So you haven't spoken about this really at all?
Only to my ex-husband.
One person.
And after 26 years or something.
And you've gone from that to a public show.
That's right. I didn't even talk to a therapist about it.
So that's quite a leap.
Yes, it is.
I find that incredible.
Why?
No, not like incredible. I find it's incredible. Well, because you wouldn't have mentioned it then if you didn't think it had a certain element of. It's remarkable. You know, it's been a secret, and now it's become the opposite of a secret. It's public. Do you understand what I mean, Trevor?
Well, what I'm interested to know is how does it make you feel now that you've decided to completely share it with everyone?
Well, it's very liberating because, if you imagine, I went to see a therapist and I said to her, there are things I will never ever tell you. And that was one of them. And then the first she ever heard of it when I said to her, I'm doing a show about this. Oh, and by the way, I never mentioned it to you, but you can imagine that my therapist was a bit gobsmacked as to what is her purpose in my life. And I would wonder that myself. What is her purpose? On a stage, if you can make something out of something that might have been your most painful experience, or one of them, number one, it's liberating, and it's a kind of freedom, catharsis.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, there's a number of people, and I've only been doing previews. There was an older woman who came up to me in Brighton and told me how much she loved the show, and then she started recounting her background, her childhood abuse, how her mother had abused her, and it was just all coming out, and that was brilliant, And then a young man, same thing. He said, wow, I've had quite a difficult past. And I thought, wow, these people think I'm their friend, but I've only just met them 2 minutes ago. But now we're sharing something because I was open about a dark secret. They feel they can tell me. And I thought that was very... I felt very honoured and privileged, especially the older woman. When I say she's an older woman, she's a granny, and she loved the show. Yet there's all 4-letter words in it. It's not at all a clean show, if you like.
No, I had the same experience. Definitely, I've had that with. I had it with sex tourists when I was talking about visiting sex workers and my experience with those after the show. Certainly in Edinburgh, where there's like a social life after shows. It's a bit different from doing a gig in London where everyone sort of disappears. I had a lot of people talk to me, oh yeah, I've been seeing prostitutes, or I used to see prostitutes, or a lot of my partner sees prostitutes, and they see me as someone they feel safe or certainly able to approach about that subject matter. And then when I've done sex with children, same as what you just said, people who I don't know at all coming up to me, not maybe, but definitely, because I just told them, they done the same to me. They were like, oh yeah, I was abused. I told no one,
Yes, and so that's wonderful, actually, because then that's something about my openness opens them out. And I was looking at that woman who's in her 60s or maybe even older. I thought, wow, you've never spoken about this, and now you are. Now that gives me a lump in my throat to think that. And she was an educated woman from a decent background, not, but something she'd never spoken about.
Let me ask you a question, because when you were saying about doing this show, it's cathartic and all these other things, how do you know that before you've done it?
Well, I didn't know that before I'd done it.
So that's what interests me. There's an element of risk there. When you made a decision...
Well, you gave me the confidence to do that, because, first of all, I never thought that these things could be spoken about in any other context than in a serious novel or a tragedy, or veiled into some kind of allegorical thing in a drama.
There's no allegory in my stories.
No, yours was so direct, and I thought, wow, this can be humour. How fantastic. So that was liberating. But then I wrote it all out when I came back from Edinburgh last year, and I read it at an open mic, and they were all laughing until I got to the bit. and then dead silence. And I killed the room so stone dead that after that not one comedian could tell one joke. They couldn't lift it up again. And I went home going, no, I can't do this.
Okay, so that's interesting. So you didn't, that wasn't intentional.
Oh no!
In your mind, it was just going with the da-da-da, and then this happened with Burt Lancaster, and you thought it would just continue rolling.
Yes, exactly. And suddenly there was like a palpable shock in the room. And the people who'd been laughing at the anecdotes of when I said how he was putting cherries in our drinks and treating us like grown-ups, the laughter stopped. It was... I just killed the room.
What was that like for you as a performer? How many people were there?
About 20 people.
Okay.
So in the actual performance of it didn't feel bad. But then when I went home and when I watched it on the tape, I have to say I watched it on the tape and I went, no, I don't like this.
Oh no, really?
No,
okay, this is interesting.
as if. And I thought, wow, what am I acting out here? I'm acting out what I never said, maybe, at the time. But then I thought, no, I can't do this. So I made up my mind.
Hang on, sorry. What didn't you like when you saw it back? What made you said, you went, no,
first of all, I didn't like the style in which I'd written it.
So that...
Number one, the style in which I'd written it, I thought was the kind of style that you'd read in a book. I didn't like the way I delivered it in this rather bland, monotone voice. I didn't like anything about it, but I was ashamed.
Okay.
Totally ashamed hearing it like that.
What the content?
The content and the way I'd written it. And then, so I decided I'm going to do my show without that. And I'll talk about when I was homeless in Paris, because I have some funny stories there and some really crazy ones.
That doesn't grab me as much as the new title, I must admit.
Well, that is exactly what I got Dave Thompson to come...
Sarah, you're moving, you're so animated. That's all, it's all right, but...
It's bad for the...
No, I've never seen you move this much, because usually you're in my audience, but when you talk, you're all over the place.
I've got to pull my...
No, you haven't got to do anything.
I've had a bit of coffee. I hate it when I see myself on the...
Did you still take drugs?
Yeah.
Because...
but not when I'm working.
How old approximately are you?
Oh, I'm not telling you.
Approximately.
Oh, old enough to know better.
I'm surprised, because I got a text from you the other day. I can't remember what it said. You just wrote back and said something like, I'm high.
I was.
What, were you just too high to talk? So you just said, I'm high?
No, I was doing crystal meth with my friends.
You were doing methamphetamine?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
So I had that out in Thailand. I'd got my whole drug-using life with that. Fucking strong, that, isn't
strong.
it? Fucking
it is strong. I like it, but what I haven't...
You like it?
Yeah, I
found
fucking
it
like
dark.
it.
I lost about 6 days and I got, well, you know what happened.
Well, what happens is you do kind of... I might do that when I'm not working and not performing, but it does... After... You might be high for 2 or 3 days, and then it might take you 2 to recover.
2 weeks. I'm still recovering from my meth.
But the thing is, I do like it, and it does keep you... It's better than Coke, because it lasts longer.
Yeah, I think if Coke was £2.50 a gram, no one would do it. It's all about the money.
No, I do like Coke, but then...
Do you like crack?
Yeah, it's okay. I'm not... I don't particularly like the smell or the taste of crack.
No, it's a bit like a hospital, isn't it? It's a bit like a hospital.
It's very bitter.
Heroin?
Heroin. I did heroin every day for about 2 or 3 months, and then I put down on it. I don't really like it. It makes me throw up.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
But on the other hand, I did used to take a lot of tramadol at one point.
Yeah.
But heroin is very... No, I like speedy drugs.
That's how we got here, because you're flying.
Yeah, but then I drink caffeine. I take my caffeine intravenous.
But I feel like...
I think I'm going to take my espresso machine up
You IV your coffee, do you?
Yeah, cook it up. And, yes.
So this, I'm finding this all very interesting, because you have got quite a strange life then. I don't know many people who are doing stories like you're doing, who done crystal meth at the weekend. And
well, yeah. I mean, that's true that people would...
you silenced Trevor, have you noticed?
Why? Because he doesn't expect a woman of my years to be using drugs like this.
Whenever you do a podcast, he doesn't stop talking, but nothing. He's got nothing to offer here, look.
I've got lots of questions.
You
That's
know
all
what
I
he's
have is
like.
questions.
I'll tell you what he's like. He's like when the boys from the posh school bump into the estate girls. They want to have the sex with them, but they're terrified because the estate girls have lived. He's like that little shy schoolboy. Look at him.
Oh, I thought you were saying I was like an estate girl.
So go ask Sara.
Well, I've got a question for both of you actually, and it is this.
No, you can talk to me all day long.
So you talk about, in both your shows, it's dark, actually unpleasant, difficult episodes from your life that you previously kept private and didn't tell a soul apart from your ex-husband, and then suddenly you share it with strangers, with the world. You feel liberated, but my question would be, is a part of that liberation and that sort of release of the burden to do with the fact that it is presented as comedy and people are laughing at these stories? How important is that?
Yes, it's true that if you can laugh at things that many times, like my brother was a drug dealer, heroin addict, he's no longer with us. When my father would recount me some of my brother's tragedies, it's true, I would laugh because it's so extreme and because it's a release. And I think that if you can laugh about pain, it's a release for you but also for everyone else.
Would you stand in a room and tell those stories to a group of strangers not as comedy?
Well, no, I guess I wouldn't. But you see, I'm not as funny as you.
No,
I don't have all that physicality. So
you do.
Oh, well, okay. But the way you're like a genius on the stage. Back me up on this. He is.
Genius was the word she used. I'm just backing her up on that.
He is, and so you can make them laugh at the darkest thing ever. Now, my technique is not on that level, and certainly the darkest scene of all in mine is rather, people have told me they had lumps in their throat and tears in their eyes.
Say what happened. I know what the scene is. You just told us.
Oh, well, both. I was sexually abused at a party by Burt Lancaster when I was 11. I got away from him before he had full sex with me. And then he abused my 9-year-old brother, who ended up in a coma and was hospitalised. And my brother was a drug addict, started taking drugs when he was 9. I started when I was 11.
Off the back of that?
Off the back of that, we both went on drugs, without doubt. And we never told my parents about the sexual abuse, but they knew that he had got us drunk and probably high as well. And my mum tried to take Burt Lancaster to court. Nobody would witness about this. In fact, one lady said, he is much loved in our community.
Yeah, you've got the Hollywood machine. That's
you
awful,
guys
isn't it?
just got here.
You sounds like you had enough of Burt Lancaster's love. That's bullshit.
Bullshit.
The weird thing is with Trevor's question, because I get that question, similar questions, quite a lot. I'll see comedians talking about divorce, talking about breakups with their girlfriends and boyfriends and things like that, which are quite serious things. People kill themselves over splitting up, and the comedians doing things about car crashes, losing their jobs, which are all very serious. And yet, you don't get questions like that asked. Oh, you were talking about your divorce, your 5-year divorce, and you talked about your alcoholism, which even people like Michael McIntyre will talk about his alcoholism or his bouts of heavy drinking, which is also very serious. But when you start talking about sexual abuse, it seems to have a further leap, which I don't see it as having, which is why I was happy to do that show, because it's not pleasant, and it's not. You can't say it's not funny. That's the thing, because anything's got the potential to be funny. And I think as long as I wouldn't have done that show unless I was alright with sharing that material. And I don't think I'd have got as far as even doing that. There are things in my life that I haven't done jokes about because I haven't come to terms with them even myself.
Yes, but I wonder if the fact that you've come to terms with some parts of it, then you share it as comedy, if that in itself is a very cathartic thing for people in the audience, for example you, Sara, to see somebody who's come to terms with a terrible thing that's happened to them, to the extent that they're now able to see the funny side of it, for want of a better phrase.
Or to share it,
Yes.
or to share it at all in a very intimate and perhaps dramatic or perhaps comic or entertaining way, because that's the thing, is that normally people don't get to hear those things. Because I think even if you told a poem about a very painful episode, that would also have a cathartic quality, no?
Yep.
I think it's, the thing is that there's this attachment of laughter, obviously, with comedy, and that's
so extreme, isn't it? I
Yeah.
think that's the key thing. Is we're used to seeing there isn't a human emotion, there isn't a human experience that hasn't been represented in art. That's the case. But what seems to be new is comedians talking about sexual abuse, violent sexual abuse.
Well, that is dark. Yes.
Is something that we are not used to laughing about. Not a subject that we're used to laughing about. So then, when we do laugh at it, or we see people joking about it, maybe that is in itself a trigger to release or show another way of seeing something that previously is taboo. You don't talk about it, it's bad, you must hold on to this pain and keep it locked away. I'm wondering if the very fact that you're attempting to make it funny is helpful.
I see what you mean. Yeah, I think it gives a space for it to be discussed. We're talking about it now, where we probably wouldn't be. Us three would not be together talking about our own experiences of sexual abuse before.
Yeah.
Sara, we haven't got a lot of time, so just a couple of questions. What do you think you're going to get out of this? On every level, on a comedic level, personal level, whatever level. What would you hope to get out of it?
Well, let's not even go. Let's not even discuss a professional level,
Okay.
because it is nice to perform, to get people to see you and know that you're a good performer. But on another level, because I'm not young, I'm starting. Basically, I've been an actress, not a comedian, and a writer. But so. I've set my expectations very low, very, very low, just because I think that's safe.
You've set your expectations like, okay.
Extremely low.
What are your
That's
fears?
my profession. Oh, what are my fears? You know, one lady,
So sit back and roll your feet,
at a preview, talked to my director afterwards and said, she's made this story up. And I was very hurt when he came to me and told me that. And then I basically said, I don't give a shit what people think. It will not affect how I do my show.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm sure. Because I said, you have to look at why she is in so much denial about her idols, about why she prefers to believe that I am lying than that her idol is desecrated. And so look into her background.
Very interesting.
You know,
But this is why your story is different to Chris. This is the big difference is, and I've forgotten this, that you're talking about a massive icon. An icon of the 20th century cinema. Wow. Yeah, we haven't thought about that.
That's why I jumped on it. That's why, that's for me. That's
an icon.
because
Yes,
people
he
are gonna
was
be-
known to be bisexual. He had 5 children. He was married 2 or 3 times. But he was definitely bisexual and definitely a paedophile. And I'm sure that there are other children out there who never came forward, or who, if they came
You think
forward,
they're still children?
Oh, well, no, they're not children. Because, no, they're not children. They'd be, he died at 80. But, you know...
Would you have done this if he was alive?
Would I? Well, then there's legal implications.
Okay. What about
in
family?
the-
What about his family, his estate? Do they
I could
exist?
give a shit. Let them come after me.
Yeah.
You know, that's people did say that to me. I said, I think bring it on, because
I'd be
it's
the
not
same as
like
that.
it's not like I've got anything that they want. And if they take me to court, well, I can't really even defend it.
Yeah, you'll sell out as well. It'll be great.
The publicity, you mean.
It'll be
But the
great.
thing is, I then did look into it and was informed, reliably informed, that there's no such thing as defamation of character once a person is dead in either America or here.
Wow.
And that all that one can do is that his relatives can come forward and say that my show is damaging their current income, and they can take a private case up against me. But isn't it just easier for them not even to do that, but just to say, I'm a fantasist, I'm a liar, I'm mentally ill? We already know I am. Hello, wiser minds has, given me a diagnosis of bipolar. Fuck off, So, but I mean, and then there are reasons, aren't there, why we went on drugs in the first place at such a young age, and such heavy drugs. And there are reasons why you find solace in drugs, aren't there?
Yes.
Exactly.
On that wonderful note that's actually got me blushing, Sara Mason, where can we see it and when can we see it?
Oh, well, if I don't know when the podcast goes out.
It will be out
In the future.
Yeah.
In the future. So we can see it in Edinburgh
That's the one.
at the Mash House, the Attic Room, and that is at 9:00 every night from the 6th to the 30th of August, but not including Tuesday.
Okay, not Naughty Tuesdays. Sara Mason, thank you very much. We loved it, didn't we, Trevor?
Really good, fascinating. Can't wait to see it.